Good morning, everybody from Limassol, Cyprus. It is Sunday around 9:30 here in Limassol. It's a bit windy on this beach boardwalk, but I've got my windshield on for my mic, and hopefully it'll be all right. So let's take a walk, and we'll talk about some news. And we've got some interesting topics to cover. And the first story that I want to get to is the what's going on in a western town called Kutsk in Ukraine. And this town is in Transcarpathia. It's in the region which is, I guess you would say, it's more ethnic Hungarian. You could kind of make that assumption, though they speak a variety of languages, and it's kind of a mix of different languages. But this town in the west of Ukraine, the very, very west of Ukraine, they, the wives and the mothers of many of the men who are about to be sent to the front lines to fight, they actually went to the administrative buildings and they protested. They actually protested the fact that their husbands and their sons are going to be sent to the front lines to be used as cannon fodder for the Elensky war in the east. And so the interesting part about this story is that in the very beginning of let me actually get up here. This will be better to walk. In the beginning of this conflict, many of the military experts, as they are called, these military experts, were saying that there is going to be a huge uprising of people in Ukraine who are going to protest the Russian army that is invading, and there's going to be just a groundswell of popular support for Elensky. And what you're seeing is the exact opposite. You're actually seeing now the uprisings, or at least the first indications of uprisings against the Elensky regime, which is not exactly what the collective West probably had in mind. But there you go. There you have it. And so it also begs the question, if, according to the New York Times and many of these military experts, if the Elensky regime is winning, and winning so big, why do they need to go all the way to the very, very west of Ukraine in order to get people to fight all the way in the east? Because the people in Kutsk, what they're saying, and it is really windy now, very windy, what the people in Kutsk are saying is, this is not our war. We don't want any part of this. So this is an interesting development. Now, speaking of the conflict and what's going on, we have the big NATO exercises taking place today on May 1st. The Polish exercise is going to be starting, and we have 8,000 British troops being sent to, I believe, to the Baltic countries as well. We've got on May 9th, I think, we have military exercises for NATO called Tiger Meet taking place in Greece, for which the Turkish military has already dropped out of. They've protested it. The Turks blame the Greeks for technical reasons. The Greeks blame the Turks because the Turkish fighter jets always cross over Greek airspace. And it is like hurricane. It's like really, really, really windy. God, I hope I'm going to be able to get this video out there. I've got the dead cats on the mic, but I don't even know if that's going to help, given how windy it is. Anyway, we're gonna power through this video. We're gonna power through. So you have all these NATO military exercises now taking place in the month of May. Reports are saying 50 to 100,000 troops are going to be participating in these exercises, and NATO is saying that they can even ramp this up to even more personnel. And of course, the question is, are these troops really participating in an exercise? Is this exercise just kind of meant to send a message to Moscow? Or are we looking at some sort of second and third front? There are reports that, of course, the reports that the Polish military is considering an incursion into the west of Ukraine. There are reports that the Romanian military is looking to jump into Moldova. There are reports that the Ukraine military is also eyeing Transnistria and entering Moldova. And so, what is going on here? We don't know. We really don't know. Could this just be NATO exercises? And could this just be one big kind of bluff, maybe from the NATO side of things, to show solidarity and strength to Russia? Yeah, absolutely. That could absolutely be the case. Could this be, though, the incursion into the west of Ukraine from NATO? Absolutely. These are big Easter eggs here. All right, very cool. Absolutely, it could be that as well. We're going to have to wait and see. We are going to have to wait and see. I don't know where I lie on this. I'm tending to think, my gut is telling me that this isn't going to be an incursion, but it's just too damn convenient that all of this is taking place at this time, given the fact that the Elensky army is about to collapse in the east of Ukraine. So my gut is telling me that NATO isn't going to jump in, and this is just kind of one big bluff. But on the other side, I tend to think, gosh, this is way too convenient. The timing is just way too convenient, and how else is NATO going to save face? How is the U.S. going to save face in this conflict? The only way they could get something out of all of this is if they go into to the west of Ukraine and grab something up, Lviv, and perhaps push their way a little more east, see how far they get towards the east before Russia reacts. Because, right now, if we have to be honest, and I'm going to do a clown world on Lviv and how Jolie was in Lviv, Angelina Jolie. But to be honest, Lviv and those areas are untouched. They really have been untouched, except for the missile strikes on the outskirts of Lviv that took out the mercenaries close to the Polish border, which happened, God, it seems like that was ages ago now, and various other missile strikes that have taken out ammunition depots or oil refineries or stuff like that. The strikes on the traction substations for the railway system. Yeah, there's been infrastructure strikes, but for the most part, there hasn't really been anything that has happened in and around the west of Ukraine on a military level, like what's been going on in the east. Of course, that's not part of the special military operation, is it? The special military operation is all about demilitarization, denazification, and freeing up the Russian-speaking part of Ukraine from the NAZIs and from the Elensky regime. At least those are the objectives from the Kremlin. So it does make sense. It really makes sense for NATO to kind of say, you know what? Let's just go for it. Poland, Romania, NATO forces to say, let's go for it and see if we can at least get a sliver of the West and preserve something out of this debacle. Of course, there are other analysts who are saying that this is going to be a much bigger and bolder move from NATO. In other words, they're going to go full on into the West. They're going to set up their enclave in the West. They're going to make Lviv the de facto capital of what is going to be a new Ukraine. You already have the American embassy working out of Lviv. I'm sure that Elensky is spending a lot of time in Lviv. You have much of the Elensky government in Lviv as well. and of course you have the U.S. command, which is in Lviv. So it seems like all of the command centers and the administrative centers are already based out of Lviv. They've already set up shop there. So, you know, it wouldn't be too far of a stretch to say what they're going to do is they're going to jump into the west. They're going to take up Lviv. NATO's going to take up Lviv as their de facto capital. They're going to set it up as a de facto capital. They're going to get as much territory as they can in the west. They're already pouring so many weapons into that area, and they're just going to kind of set up shop in the west of Ukraine. That'll be known as Ukraine, and then they're going to wait for a second war, an offensive, say summertime, to hit at Russia in the south. In other words, there are a lot of analysts who are thinking of it like this: let's send as many conscripts and draftees and all these men into the east of Ukraine, whoever we can send into the east of Ukraine. Let's use them as cannon fodder. It's a terrible thing what they're doing. It's very cynical, but this is what many analysts think. Let's send them into the east. Let's try to slow down the Russians as much as possible. Let's try to bog them down as much as possible. And there are many Pentagon analysts who are coming out with claims saying that the Russians are delayed in their conquest of the east of Ukraine in Donbass. They're delayed by 3-4 days. A week ago, they were saying that the Russians are delayed in weeks. Now they're saying the Russians are delayed in terms of days. But anyway, they're making it up. The analysts are making it up as they go along. But either way, the thinking is let's bog them down in the Donbass. As Lloyd Austin says, as he said, let's try to inflict as many losses to Russia as we can. Let's try to really degrade their military as much as we can, weaken their military, and let's just build up in the west. So let's go into the west, let's take over, set up shop, let's throw all our military weapons smack into the west of Ukraine, and around summertime, let's make an offensive towards the south, and to prevent the land bridge to Transnistria. Let's protect Odessa. Let's take on the Russians in Nikolaev. Let's bog them down in Donbass as much as we can, and that may be the game plan. Arestovich, the Baghdad Bob, the cross-dressing Baghdad Bob, best buddy of Elensky, pretty much said as much. He said there's going to be 2 to 3 wars in Ukraine. And the first war may be the east in Donbass, but actually let's walk up here. Let's walk up here close to the water. But the second war may be in the south, and it may involve NATO, the United States, taking on the Russians for Odessa and for that southern corridor. There are also a lot of reports saying that the Americans are training the Ukraine military to fly F-16s, and that the U.S. is getting ready to send F-16s into the theater of battle. And this has to do a lot with the Lend-lease program, and I'll get into that real quick. Slovakia is going to be providing MiGs. I believe they are providing some fighter jets to Ukraine. There's the talk about the F-16s and the U.S. Sending those to Ukraine. And there are reports saying that the U.S. is training Ukraine pilots. They're training Ukraine pilots to operate the F-16s. Now, I've read a lot of expert analysis, which is saying there is no way that Ukraine pilots, or whatever is left of the Ukraine military, I'm hearing they're taking people out of pilot school in Ukraine, like literally, they're taking them wet behind the ears, and they're trying to train them to fly the F-16s. And I'm hearing that this is a very complicated plane to fly. There's a lot to it, and there's no way that these guys are going to get up to speed in this short of a time period. And so many people are saying, many analysts are actually saying that let me just fix my camera real quick. They're saying that the people that are going to actually be flying these F-16s are not going to be Ukrainian pilots. They're going to be American and NATO pilots. Now that would be a massive red line if if US and NATO pilots actually engaged with Russians in flying the F-16s. That would be huge. That would be a massive escalation. But from what I'm understanding, there's just no way you're going to get the Ukraine pilots ready to take these things into war. And it's going to have to be American or NATO. So who knows? I've read other analysts that are saying this is not happening at all. This is BS. They're not. There are no F-16s coming into the picture. So we don't know there. Let's discuss real quick Lend-lease, and let me talk a little bit about May 9th, where you're going to have the big parade, the Great Patriotic War, the parade in Moscow for May 9th, celebrating the victory over NAZI Germany. And first, let's talk about Lend-lease. Let's talk about let's briefly talk about May 9th, because there are a lot of rumors there, a lot of talk from analysts with regards to May 9th and Victory Day. So for the Russians, it's a huge day. It's a big parade. I've actually attended a couple of the May 9th events. It's massive. All of Moscow, all of Russia celebrates this, but in Moscow, it's just such a big event. It's just really hard to explain. It really is an important day, and it's just a massive event, which culminates with a big event at the Kremlin, where the who's who is there. President Putin is there. Big speeches, just a big day all around, and a lot of people take part in the May 9th parade. All of Moscow is out for that event. But there are people that are saying that on this day of May 9th, a couple of things may happen. Now, I can't confirm any of this. This is just what various analysts are saying. So I'm just going to throw this out there, and let me know in the comments down below. Also, let me know in the comments down below people who are experts in military things, and maybe experts who understand the F-16. Let me know in the comments down below what you think may be going on, if these reports are accurate, if you think they're BS. Just let me know in the comments down below, because I'm very interested to hear everyone's thoughts. So May 9th, a couple of things that may be going on. The first thing that may happen on May 9th, and this is once again, this is just, I'm just throwing it out there, is that Putin may actually declare war on Ukraine, and that may be big. That's going to be huge. Keep in mind that to date, this is just a special military operation. Russia has not declared war. But if Russia does declare war, then, well, everything changes. And the reason Russia hasn't declared war is because on a political level, Putin has been waiting to get that popular support that he needs in order to make such a declaration. So there's not going to be any political fallout from a declaration of war. He's got the people squarely behind him, and he can make that announcement. That may be one of the things that may happen on May 9th. Another thing that may happen on May 9th is you may have a NATO-US provocation. In other words, the invasion into the west of Ukraine may occur. A false flag may happen. Something along those lines may happen on May 9th to shake and rattle the Russian population and the Russian people. In other words, to get a psychological and optics war. A false flag may occur to escalate things to a very, very high level. You may actually have the incursion of Poland or NATO or Romania into the west of Ukraine, or into Moldova or Transnistria or something along those lines. So that may also happen. The other thing that may happen on May 9th is absolutely nothing. Nothing may happen on May 9th. It just may be the parade. It may come and go, and that'll be that. There are a lot of people that saying May 9th will be when Russia really kicks the phase 2 into high gear. In other words, they really go hard at all the Ukraine military that is trapped in the Donbass. That's another speculation that's floating around. So I just wanted to kind of throw all of that out there for May 9th, because it's coming. We're eight days away from what could be a very big day, but could also be a nothing burger. The event may come and it may go. So we'll monitor that as well. Now, Lend-lease. Lend-lease. We got to talk about Lend-lease here because a lot of people are talking about it. And I'm not going to really get into the details. I'm sure everyone knows what Lend-lease is and what it does. It allows the Biden White House to send all kinds of weapons to Ukraine, to the war, but they're not going to be free. In other words, all of these new shiny toys from the military-industrial complex are going to be lent and loaned to Ukraine. Commodity loan is what it really is, and that loan's going to have to be paid back. Now, during World War II, the Soviet Union and Stalin actually participated in Lend-lease, and it took them something like 61 years to pay back this military commodity loan. 61 years. They finally paid it back in full in 2006. And Russia actually paid it back as the inheritor of the Soviet Union. So this loan was in place for 60 plus years before it finally got paid back. So Ukraine is going to be on the hook big time with this weapons loan. It is going to have to pay this back for many, many decades and a couple of generations. And everyone asks, well, who's going to pay this back? Because, you know, Ukraine may not exist, or Ukraine may be a fraction of what it is right now. It's going to be a completely broken country. How the hell are they going to pay back this massive weapons and military loan to the United States? Well, here's how it's going to be done. In a video I did about a week and a half ago, I talked about how the European Union has said that they will take up all of the reconstruction costs for the Ukraine after the war, post-war. In other words, the EU said that they're going to flip the bill. They're going to take care of it. You know, here's the check. The EU is saying, we got it. No need for anyone else to pay. We'll take care of this. So the EU has already stated that they are going to take care of all of the costs and the expenses for what's going on in Ukraine. Whatever that Ukraine may be. Maybe it's a rump state in the west. Maybe it's just Lviv Oblast, Lviv province. Who the hell knows what it's going to be? Maybe it's going to be a new name, something totally different. But either way, the EU has said they're going to take care of it. And so if the EU is going to take care of it, that means that the EU is on the hook for Lend-lease. And so how's it going to work? Well, EU citizens who are watching this video, this is how it's going to work. As EU citizens, we're going to pay more money to Brussels. Brussels is going to take that money. They're going to give it to Ukraine. And Ukraine is going to give that money to the United States for Lend-lease. And that is exactly how the payback is going to work. Speaking of corruption, by the way, in Bulgaria, there is a lot of political infighting between the current prime minister, the old prime minister. I believe Borisov was the old prime minister, and the current prime minister is Petkov, I believe. Anyway, there's a lot of infighting between the parties because they're saying there's a lot of corruption going on. And the reason there's a lot of corruption going on is because you see this whole gas grift where Bulgaria is getting gas from, they're siphoning it off from Greece, and they're trying to find intermediaries to get this gas, this Russian gas, instead of just doing the gas for rubles and getting it directly from Russia. They've now put in place all these intermediaries in order to stick it to Putin and to show that they're not going to subscribe to the gas for rubles. Same Russian gas, by the way. It's just that now it's going to be coming from Greece or from Germany or from someone else via fictitious reverse flow pipelines, which is completely fictitious. By the way, gas can only go in one direction. But anyway, they're coming up with all these schemes. And the reason that they're doing these schemes is because when you add intermediaries to the mix, it makes skimming off the top a lot easier. And so all of these politicians that have said no to gas for rubles, their real angle was to place all of these third parties into the equation, where then they could get some more money out of it. They could skim off the top. You know, the gas goes up, it's sold for a higher price. That higher price, maybe the difference of that price is then divvied up between the politicians and the companies. and everyone is happy. So, you know what? I think the countries that have said no to gas for rubles, my opinion on that is that they're just engaging in another form of corruption under the guise of sticking it to Putin. They're pretending that they're sticking it to Putin, but what they're really doing is they're just creating more bureaucracy, more red tape. They're throwing in all kinds of third-party businesses and actors into the mix. And whenever you see that going on, well, then you know that that there's a lot of corruption going on. And they're doing that because, yeah, they're skimming off the top there. And I've seen this happen in Europe all the time. This is very common practice. Put a consultant in there, put a third party in there. That person invoices a little higher than it should be, and the difference is pocketed by everyone. So that's what's really going on. And now you're seeing the political parties in Bulgaria really go at each other because they're saying that this is corrupt and what are you doing? You're stealing money and we're not getting gas and the Bulgarian people are going to suffer. Well, yeah, that's exactly what's going on. Corruption is what's happening. So let's do a clown world. I think I've covered a lot of ground. I've walked quite a bit. So let's do a clown world. And the clown world has to do with Angelina Jolie, who was in Lviv. And she was in Lviv. She's like a UN Goodwill ambassador, but she was actually in Lviv on her own accord on what she calls a fact-finding mission. The real reason why they sent Angelina Jolie to Lviv is so that she can continue to draw attention to the war, because a lot of people are just not interested anymore in what's going on in Ukraine, in the United States. And so you send Jolie there, and she works to bring attention, much like Sean Penn. You know, they work to try and keep the American people focused on what's going on in Ukraine. So the interesting part about it is that she's in Lviv, she's visiting cafes. The cafes are full of people. She's signing autographs, she's taking pictures and selfies. And everything is just perfectly normal because, as I said in the beginning of the video, nothing has really happened in the west of Ukraine outside of the targeting of the mercenary camp and taking out the train substations, ammo and fuel depots. Lviv as a city has been left untouched, as have most cities in the west of Ukraine. And so Jolie went there and she saw that. Of course, she visited some orphanages and some other medical facilities. But the real clown world happened when suddenly, as Jolie was in Lviv, suddenly the sirens came on for a supposed air raid. There was no air raid, but the sirens came on and all the cameras were perfectly positioned to film Jolie and her entourage. This is the marina area of Limassol. Yeah. All right. So let's walk up to the pier and we'll end the video at the end of the pier. So what was I saying? Yeah, so they got the air raid sirens on and it was really dramatic. You could see Jolie was really concerned and she's running through the streets of Lviv and her entourage is like, they're trying to protect her and, you know, they're looking to the left and they're looking to the right. And there's all kinds of chaos because you got to remember that Angelina Jolie, you know, she's in the middle of it, right? She's like, Jolie's like Patrick Lancaster at this moment. You know what I mean? She's a war correspondent now. She's not just a Hollywood actress and an Academy Award winner. She's a war correspondent. And so much like, you know, the dangerous work that Patrick Lancaster does, well, you know, Jolie is doing it now in Lviv as well. And that was the message that they wanted to give out. My take on it is that this was all completely set up. This is more Hollywood trickery, and I think it's clown worldish. That's my take on it. There was no need to go through all of those dramatics, but that was the purpose of Jolie being there. The purpose of her being in Lviv was to bring attention to the war again, to make sure that Americans are not focusing on other things like Elon Musk and Twitter and all of these things, to make sure that Americans are still focused on the war, because we may have a US NATO incursion soon, but it's not enough to have Jolie just, you know, show up in Lviv and just sign autographs and take selfies. You have to create some war drama, and well, Hollywood is really good at doing that. The Elensky regime is a group of TV directors and producers, and so I think everything was set up so that they can get this interesting photo, video situation scenario in place. Anyway, everybody, that is the video. I'm at the end of the pier in Limassol, Cyprus. It is super windy, so I really hope that the sound is good for this video. If it's not, I do apologize, but can't control the weather, and I wanted to get this video out to everyone. TheDuran.locals.com, everybody. Alexander's channel, check it out. The Duran's channel, check it out. Take care.